Now 6:30, so we will call to order the special meeting, otherwise called a town hall public meeting. We welcome anyone from the public or in council to present an item for discussion. We only limit your time in as much as we want to allow everybody to have a chance to speak. But last month, I understood there wasn't anyone that presented. So if that's the case, we could certainly just discuss items as a council if you choose to. We do ask the public to be respectful, provide supporting evidence if you have specific concerns, but we will engage in discussion with you regarding your desired topic. If you recognize a problem, please suggest a solution for discussion. We'll end the town hall meeting promptly at 6:55 to allow prayer prior to our regular council meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council?
Can we do a roll call so that you...
Sure, we can do a roll call. Would you like to do that?
Yes, please. Randy Coffey?
Here.
Mindy Galbavy? Here. Adam Grass? Larry Lambert?
Here.
Bob Porter?
Here.
Steve Wallace?
Here.
Mayor Sue Hammond?
Here.
All is accounted for except council member Adam Grass. And you do have a quorum.
Okay, so we are open for public discussion, any topics anyone would like to bring, either in person or virtually by Zoom. Just raise your hand so Devin can know that you'd like to. Hi, Shaw's.
Hi.
Otherwise, council, this is an excellent time for you to review your packet for the 7 o'clock meeting.
Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak? You can unmute to identify if you don't understand how to raise your hand. I don't see. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. You want to test it?
Test, test, test. Okay.
We were asked by community members to initiate this type of a town hall meeting. And our first time that we had one in January, we did have some topics to discuss that were presented by Zoom and in person. And we'll continue to do this a couple more months and just see. But if we don't get more participation, then I think we'll probably have to talk about stopping doing that.
Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to have a conversation with council? You can please unmute yourself so that I can identify or raise your hand. There's just one more person that came on. I wanted to make sure.
Okay. Is it Adam?
I don't see Adam.
Has anybody out there seen the bulletin board at Carl's? Well, be sure to notice it when you go. It was put out by Dory the other day at the direction of our technology committee. There's been some great improvements to the website, and then this was also as a result of those meetings to try to enable people who don't have access to the web to be able to see what's going on at the city. And it will change every couple weeks. It'll be updated. We have a mock-up downstairs, which will be kept the same as Carl's, so they know when it's time to change. And we'll see how that goes. I've only had one person that commented on it to me so far, but
Positive.
fortunately, my husband liked it, so.
I saw it a couple days ago and I thought it turned out really beautiful.
Great.
Thank you, Dory and Devin and
Yes, thank you to everybody. That was nice.
and the town meeting is on it too, so maybe people will notice it and become aware.
Do you want me to do my correspondence now?
Sure.
An email came through and it was delivered to Leanne and I both. Just letting you know, and it was in your packets, that the USDA grant that we were applying for the police vehicle and for the DPW tractor have been approved. So we're just waiting for the money to be eligible, and the superintendent of public works and the police chief will be able to begin ordering them, because both of them have special orders to them. So that was exciting news.
As many of you know, we do have an open position in our Department of Public Works for a superintendent position or a deputy superintendent position. We've posted both, knowing that our current superintendent, John Souter, does want to stay on, but his choice will have to be based on what applicants we see come in. So whether we'll be filling a superintendent or a deputy superintendent, we just don't know. We have gotten 5 applications. We have done 2 interviews, and the other two that have come in were more recent, so we will be conducting those interviews probably middle to end of next week. But most of the applications have been local, and that's nice. But we've also gotten one that's a significant distance. But
You said they sold their house, right?
yes, yeah. Yeah. The applicant that's farther away said that they're poised to move in this direction if they get offered the job. So that's good. Oh, and I will let you know too that our police officer, Tom Ryle, who contracted COVID and was hospitalized with that, was moved from intensive care to general floor today.
Good.
So that's a good thing.
Positive.
If we just had coffee, this would be like just visiting, wouldn't it?
How long has he been in there? I know it's been a while.
He's been there, I want to say 10 days, maybe, in the
Oh.
hospital. He's
Oh.
been sick for close to 3 weeks, I
Okay.
think. Because he was probably 10 days in before he had to go and be hospitalized.
Yeah, Rick was in there quite a long time.
Yeah.
He's back out.
That's good.
Takes a while, someone,
Yes, it does. And thank you all for your prayers and concerns for my son and his surgery. He's doing great. He went back to work today,
excellent.
That's amazing.
5 weeks after quadruple open heart bypass at age 50. 50. He's doing well. He can't drive, so my husband has to drive him back and forth to work. He can't drive for another week.
Can't drive, but he can work.
He didn't want to, he wanted to get back to work because his kids are home, homeschooling.
Need to go relax, gotta go work.
And his wife works from home too. And they have a cat and dog.
I see that we have a new person that has joined Zoom. If you would like to speak, either raise your hand, and if you're not sure how to do that, you can unmute and identify yourself.
Okay, Bob. Do you want to tell us, we'll use this time, tell us more about what a geocache course is.
I'm the right person to ask, but I'll try.
Oh, okay.
That's George Dunn's
Oh, really? Okay.
project, basically. But, so it's a national, it might be international program. You go online and lots of communities have it. So it gives you compass coordinates, but it's, you gotta have to have a phone or something to go there, and then, like, let's say if we start ours here in Perry, we'd have to start here at City Hall. They'd find a plaque or something, and then from that, we give them coordinates to the next place. So they can use their compass to get to the next one, and then so on and so on and so on. And at the very end, there'd be some sort of, it's not a reward, but a tube or box or something with something in it saying Perry geocache, and you can sign your name.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of, and it'd take them to, you know, different spots. So for us, we were thinking here, historic City Hall, what's the cemetery, Roselawn?
Yeah.
The cemetery, McQueen House, we thought about maybe, shoot, I'm drawing a blank, the ice cream store down the street here.
King Cone.
King Cone, and then City Center, Perry Old City Center.
Okay.
That part has already started. I've talked to Mark Folks at the township. They actually purchased a picnic table for us, or for them, because that's their property. And actually John picked it up from my house yesterday to put it together for us, so.
Great.
It was dropped off at my house, and I just don't have time, so. I asked John how much it would cost us parks, and he said, oh, we'll just do it, we have time. So, he's a great guy. So that's that process. Other than that, I really don't, I mean, I kind of understand it, but not really.
Yeah.
So,
Is it
lots
something
of,
that happens all at one time, like a scavenger hunt, or is it something
sort of,
people
it's
do
sort
at
of, it's
different
sort of like
days?
a scavenger hunt, but it's all over the place. It's, every state has one. I don't know if, I'm assuming it's international,
Okay.
but that's George's thing. George is very into anything that does with compasses, coordinates, those kinds of things,
Yeah.
which is good. I mean, most people
Yeah.
can't read a compass, so something that maybe we can,
And some of the people will,
Pass it on.
they'll hide the trinket somewhere. It's just not like out.
correct, you have to
inside.
look for it.
It could look like a pop top on the ground, but it's got a tube below it that's got the
Oh.
item in it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's not a big plaque
Yeah,
in some places. but
pretty
yeah.
cool.
The last spot is the hardest. You
Okay.
have to solve a riddle to figure out what you're looking for.
Okay,
So that's the Reader's Digest version of what I understand.
yeah. I like it. It's fun. Has anybody ever done one? You have?
I have not.
You have not. Debbie has.
We were in Grand Haven, and actually, we were on a budget with all of us kids, and we're using the beach, and my daughter's boyfriend says, let's go geocache, and he just looked one up, and it took us a while, because they give you hints and different things like that.
Yeah.
And what, this one is you traded an item, so you take the item and you're supposed to put something in for the next person to see,
Okay.
is the one we did, and I imagine there's variations, but it was, the kids enjoyed it, and I think the worst thing about it is the traffic was crazy in Grand Haven, and I had to make sure the kids were paying attention to the road, because they were just trying to get to that destination and find it. But it was fun,
Neat.
and it was free, I mean, it's something to do and just to be outside.
Yeah.
We thought it was a way to bring people to Perry
Yeah.
as kind of as a destination. Oh, they have a geocache, let's go there, and
Yeah.
then it gets them familiarized with our city
Neat.
and the things we have. So, first steps.
Maybe we could, when we do decide to do that and when it's gonna start, and so maybe you could do, or have George do a Reader's Digest version of the description, and we can post it down at Carl's on the bulletin board.
Yes, we will do that.
Okay.
We have to link it onto our city website
Yeah.
too. So it says, you know,
Right.
geocache, and you can
Yeah.
click on it and go on from there.
Good.
That's my understanding. So, yeah, we're working on, I don't I'm working on stuff for the parks. I don't have, I got some estimates in that which are really disappointing, so.
Oh dear, okay.
For a
Well, you're
couple
on the
different things,
agenda
so.
for later, so we'll talk about that stuff. Hi, Bob Aki.
Hi, Sue.
We're just finishing up our town hall meeting, which has pretty much just been us talking about stuff.
That's good.
We'll take about 2 more minutes and then we'll adjourn for a few minutes and then start our council meeting at 7. So if anybody wants to say anything, now's the time. Unless you want to wait till public comment during the regular meeting. Well, we will adjourn our town hall meeting here at 6:55. Graham Church, Mr. Hickson,
Speak my pastor.
okay,
My name is John.
John,
Yep.
thank you for joining us today. We appreciate that. And you're from the Graham Church
Yes,
over in
yeah.
Shasburg.
Otherwise known as Schaffsburg Elementary School.
Yeah, nice facility you've got
Very,
there.
very nice.
Yeah, good. Well, John, we'll invite you to step to the podium and give us an indication for our council meeting for tonight.
Okay, let's pray. Almighty God and Heavenly Father, thank you that through the Lord Jesus we are invited to bring our requests on behalf of the residents of Perry and of our leaders, the City Council and Mayor Hammond, Superintendent Haven, and the Board of Education, and other elected and appointed officials. That you would protect them and direct them and prosper them in all of their deliberations and decisions for the formation of a more perfect union, the establishment of justice, the assurance of domestic tranquility, the provision for the common defense, the promotion of the general welfare, and for the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Protect our men and women in uniform as they defend these blessings of liberty, and deliver us all, our healthcare workers, and our economy from continued adverse effects of COVID-19. Please sustain Perry as a community where family and neighborhood bonds are strong, where children are educated for life and living, where churches minister to the spiritual needs of all, and where businesses prosper financially as they provide lawful and morally superior goods and services. Again, we ask for your blessing on City Council tonight, that they would work hard on issues but be easy on each other for the benefit of today's residents, our posterity, and always through means and to ends that would bring your pleasure and continued blessing. We ask these things in the name of Him whose kingdom of righteousness and peace we anticipate. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
We'll wait a few minutes to start to see if perhaps Adam comes. But if not, we do have a quorum, thanks to our 2 new people. Hooray. Thank you guys for stepping up to that. Okay, it is now 7 PM. We'll call the regular Perry City Council meeting to order with our pledge. Let's stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Devin, would you do the roll call, please?
Randy Coffey,
Here.
Mindy Galbavy,
Here,
Adam Graff, Larry Lambert,
Here.
Bob Porter,
Here.
Steve Wallace,
Here.
Mayor Sue Hammond.
Here?
All is accounted for except council member Adam Grass.
Now move to the reading and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. Go back. I always forget that. We need the approval of the agenda first.
I move the agenda be adopted as printed.
second.
It's been moved by Larry, seconded by Mindy. That the agenda be adopted as printed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. And now we can go to reading and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the April 1st, 2021 regular meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Steve and second from Bob that we suspend the rules, waive the reading and approve the minutes from the April 1st meeting. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Do we have any public, well, I don't think we have any pre-approved reports or presentations, but I'll just ask that. Devin, do we have any?
Nobody has called in
Okay, so
to do that.
we will move on then to public comment, which again, we just came from 25 minutes of none, but is there anyone that wants to come forward to council for public comment? We've had our communications read. Did you get all of them, Devin?
That was it, yeah.
Okay, so Devin has already read the communications. I do not have any reports for tonight. Is there a committee that would like to report?
I'll just reiterate on behalf of the Business Affairs and Technology Committee that, as we stated earlier, the bulletin board, thanks to the work of Devin and Dory, is up and active at Carl's Market. And the intent right now is it will be updated twice a month by the Wednesday following each of our council meetings. So anything that comes out of the council meeting that's pertinent to update the board will be done by early the following week. We're
Good.
continuing to enhance through the efforts of the folks there again, Devin and Dory, continue to enhance the website for up-to-date and streamlined information as we go forward.
Does anybody have any questions for Larry about that? Thank you. That was great. I'm so glad we've made progress on that. And the website. Any other committees that would like to report at this time? I know we have some on the agenda for later on, so we can move ahead to presentation and approval of the bills.
I move that we approve the bills as presented and the payment be authorized.
Second.
As moved by Larry, seconded by Mindy, to approve the bills and authorize payment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by nay. Motion passes. We're now to old business, and we have been carrying discussion regarding creating a DDA for a few weeks now, and Bob Otke is here to talk to us about that. Bob?
I'm I'm gonna take my mask off so I can see the print on my sheet here.
Okay,
Otherwise, it steams up my glasses.
I understand.
During the last council meeting, I was asked by the mayor to poll the planning commission as to whether to pursue the creation of the DDA any further. On April 5th, we had a unanimous vote not to pursue the DDA in its current designation of the two-block area. The reason for that is the financial contribution that has to be made for that two-block area and the time involved for that two-block area also. If the boundaries were expanded to include the Four Corners or some other areas, they would revisit that at that time. Our concern is that the Four Corners people are going to feel slighted that we didn't include them in a downtown area. The downtown area can be covered, if it's in the DDA, can also be added to what's called the Main Street program. And that can be added at the same time as a DDA. With the Main Street program, you start out at a lower level and work your way up in that program. But we can do it all at the same time if the district is included or increased. One of the main concerns that I had was that slighting the people at the Four Corners so that they didn't feel that they were part of Perry. And, you know, granted, they are large corporations, McDonald's and Taco Bell and Kentucky Fried Chicken, etc. But the people that run them are local people that live here.
Right.
And we're going to have people from Perry that patronize those businesses. And, you know, I don't know if anybody's going to say anything, but the feeling is there that they're second-class people. So Perry is currently growing with the number of houses that are being increased in Perry, but that turns us into a bedroom community which does not grow businesses. And we have to grow businesses to provide employment for people here and work for the young people to start out, is carry out people at Carl's or anywhere else. If they want to become a stagnant city, that's fine. But we need to grow, we need to become part of the community, of the state and of the county with a DDA. Does anybody have, oh, and we would also like to suggest that we have a meeting with an attorney who specializes in DDAs so that we can discuss all the ins and outs with them and get the real point of view. Attorneys specialize in a certain area and these other attorneys specialize in DDA.
Do you have any idea how much that would cost?
No, I don't. I think the going rate is right around $150 an hour for an attorney. I would think if we scheduled a meeting for maybe 2 hours, you're looking at $300, you know, for that. But Justin Sprague has also implied and said to me that he will be glad to provide us, if we approve it, an area that we would go into. But I would like to set up a meeting with the attorneys and, you know, so that we can sit down and talk about it and go from there. Anybody have any questions?
Council, do you have questions for Bob or for discussion? I know Steve and Randy are kind of perhaps new to this discussion. The original boundaries that the Planning Commission proposed to create a DDA went from, did it go all the way to Bathroom?
No.
So Orchard Street?
We went down, well, I guess you could say yes, because we went to the auto parts store.
Yeah, okay,
The
so
one you
from,
proposed went all the way to Beer Road. The map you
That was
presented.
one of the proposals, yes, but the one that we finalized on stopped at Bath.
Bath,
But you
yes.
didn't change it.
So it went from Bath Road out to Lansing Road and out to the city boundaries on Lansing Road. We asked our city attorney, English, for an opinion on that. He conferred also with Tom Bridges, who had been a part of a previous discussions a few years ago about a proposed DDA. And Justin's opinion was that that boundary was not going to be doable for several reasons. It encompassed residential areas that exceeded what were felt to be acceptable. It also, at the Four Corners, involved the area that has a 425 agreement on it. So a lot of that, not a lot, but a portion of the property taxes that are paid there are paid to the township. So there were several things that he referred to and said that his opinion was that if a DDA was to be pursued, it should go from Orchard Street to Polly Street along Main Street. And that was the information that was given to Bob to take back to the Planning Commission. And that's what they have based their decision to not pursue a DDA based on those boundaries, their initial proposed boundaries.
I do agree with what he said about including these people down there. I have heard stuff from business owners down that way that they don't want to give back to this end because we don't put them in the game. I've heard quite a few things. They want to join, but they haven't been included. So, like he says, there's big business there too. Big business has money. They're going to help the community to bring people here to go their business. So, I think it's a good idea to involve them down there.
Well, and the question was, and excuse me, and I'll shut up for a minute here, but the question was, does it take a DDA to do that? Because a DDA would initially cost the city about $18,000 to create.
Yeah, if we could include something else to start involving these people, yeah, you don't need one.
Well, and that we had many meetings where we had Justin Sprague, who's from CBI.
CIB.
I always say that, CIB. And he gave us a lot of information about DDAs and the tax capture and so forth. Also, Mr. Horvath from SEDP, same information basically. But again, it kept coming back to, do we need a DDA at that big of a cost? And is it possible to do the whole Main Street where there's a lot of residential zoning, residential homes in the area? Okay, I'll shut up. Council, what's your thoughts?
That property down on Lansing Road doesn't qualify because it's not blighted.
Well,
The
the
property
qualifications, Mindy, the qualifications are that some area within the DDA has to be in that area. It doesn't say that the whole thing has to be there.
No.
And the downtown area qualifies for that. And if we expanded it out to there, it would also be in the DDA.
Okay, I get that, but it's not really attached to any of the blighted area.
Well, it would have to be if it's in the DDA, because you can only have one DDA within a city, and it has to be a contiguous zone. So some way or another, it has to be attached to the DDA that's downtown.
And I just can't go along with putting all this property between downtown and down there in order to include it when it doesn't need the help.
What are your thoughts, Larry?
I think that was one of the, expand on Mindy's thing, I think that was one of Justin's reasons that he wouldn't recommend including the Four Corners. And we've got to also recognize there's other businesses that are not the big businesses on the four corners that would be excluded as well. You've got a truck dealership, you've got a flower shop, you've got a number of other small businesses that would be excluded if we only did the immediate downtown area. But I think part of Justin's rationale, though I don't have a letter right in front of me, was that the outline or the four corners did not show the economic deterioration that would allow it to be an integral part of the DDA. And I have to agree that, you know, I walked the town just to continue to familiarize myself with the number of businesses that would be excluded if we were to simply do the central business district. And well over half of our businesses in the city would be excluded from any centralized DDA.
Right. Carl's, the flower shop, the tan place,
The truck sales.
yeah, the
Granite
truck
shop.
sales.
And the granite monument stuff.
Yeah, oh, that's right, the monument place.
Bob, somebody, I remember last meeting or meeting before, someone was going to, and I don't know, I don't want to say it was you because I can't remember, like poll this downtown businesses. Did anybody do that to see if they're even interested in it still?
No, when I did it, what, 3 years ago, everybody that I talked to downtown was for it. And I talked to the people out there, and they were for it. Even the truck stop sent people to our meetings that we had in the afternoon, and they wanted to be part of it. And it was a CFO or CEO or somebody, I mean, somebody high up in the company came to our meetings.
Because I also remember
Any of that.
part of the problem with the zone, the map, Mindy, my understanding was our attorney's problem was that we tried to do downtown and then, oh, let's go in the middle of the road and go down and then, oh, we'll open up for this business and close it back in, we'll open up. It has to be a continuous line, so we'd have to pick up all the houses down Main Street, which I know you can have residents in there, I understand that, but you still pick those people up. I personally don't know, I've been thinking about this a while. I think it'd be better use of city funds to pursue looking at grants ourselves, maybe hire a grant writer or something along those lines. More than likely it would be cheaper than $18,000, and then we wouldn't have the loss of tax revenue. 'Cause I see the benefits of DDA, I just don't know for us if it really is a benefit for our city.
Well, there's a lot of money that is taken out of Perry that goes to other functions within the county and the state, that we would recapture those back into the city. That would not leave.
What funds are leaving and how?
Well, I don't know. I can give you an example of the Lansing Airport, because I was involved with the Stockbridge one. And Ingham County, which the airport is not in Ingham County, a lot of money goes to, tax money goes from Ingham County, excuse me, to the airport. That money would stay here in Perry instead of going out there.
Instead of going to Shiawassee?
Yeah. Now, there's other things, you know, and I can't tell you, I don't know.
Right.
But, you know, that's one of the big things, and everybody says, or people say, well, they won't agree to that, but they've agreed to that with all the other DDAs within Shiawassee County. They said, oh yeah, grow your business. And Perry is growing, but it's not growing as a business community, it's growing as a bedroom community.
Okay.
And now, just to play devil's advocate, is that a problem? Is it really, why, if businesses aren't moving here, other than the four corners, why force the round peg into the square hole or vice versa? Why don't we look at keeping the people that moved here for a bedroom community, give them things to do here other than businesses. We have a few restaurants. I'm just trying to play this out because I don't know. Honestly, I do not know and do not have a solid opinion.
You've got to have a place for young people to get employment, starting employment. You've got to have a place for people that can't drive to Lansing or Wausau or Flint that can get employment here, whether it's a small job at McDonald's or something. They need employment here. I know a person in Owasso that has never left Owasso in the last 45 years. They just do everything right there. They will not go out of Owasso. Now, if they lived in Perry, they'd be in trouble.
But we're also, a tenth of the size of Owasso.
Correct.
So we have, a mile's worth of businesses, if that, if it's even a mile.
Yeah.
So, instead of trying to force that model, which it seems to have evolved itself into something other than businesses growing in downtown, let's look at something else. Let's think outside the box.
Well, that's the reason for getting CIB involved, and if they can bring in ideas that would work in Perry to grow the businesses so that they...
Well, then you also have to have people interested in moving their business here for whatever reason.
Right.
We have a couple, but they moved down there. Well, Tombo Foods released I haven't been on planning commission for a while, so I don't know where that stands with them. We had the mushroom guy, there is things here, but it's not a downtown, like store or storefront or, that kind of thing.
Correct.
And I understand your concern. It's valid. People need employment. Young people need it. But we're such a mobile society. I grew up in an area where if I had to have a job or needed to go do it, I had to drive to it or walk. So, and I'm 58, so the people coming out, my daughter's always had to drive to work, or we drove her to work, all my kids, my two boys as well, when they were not old enough to drive, they got a job, we drove them to their job. So it's a little bit different today than it was. So we have to, let's not focus on, or try not to fix something that may not be able to, it's not fixable. I don't know. Again, I really don't know, but I'm just trying to
Well, again,
play
we need
this
to
out.
get the experts involved because none of us here are experts.
Absolutely. I'm not either. Absolutely.
So it's a matter of getting somebody involved and, we need to get some advice on that.
Have you looked for an attorney who specializes in DDAs?
Yes, I have, and I have 3 recommended attorneys to do that.
Did you call them to see what their hourly rate would be?
No, I did not.
Okay. I would suggest let's at least entertain that idea. Let's see what their hourly rates are. And, it may be worth a few $100s and see what their real opinion is.
Okay.
I can go along with that. I have a real problem spending as much as, and it's probably just the tip of the iceberg because no matter what, estimates change. They started at 18,000 and it's probably now 22 really with all the other fees and hidden,
Well,
I don't want to say hidden stuff, but things change, overruns, all those things.
Well, 3 years ago, when we got a quote from Rowe, it was $15,000. And now it's $24,000.
Right. So I know, and everything's going up and up and up and up,
Yeah.
and I understand that. But to be honest with you, from a selfish point, for parks and property, I'd rather spend $20,000 on property park stuff than I am benefiting my residents more with that, in my opinion, than a DDA. But I'm not closed off minded on a DDA. I have to be convinced. Either way, what's the best way to do this
Yeah.
with the limited funds that we have?
If I could jump back in for a minute, I just want to say, I'm certainly not opposed to a DDA, but the city of Perry is not geographically ideal for a DDA. We're not, because of our divided businesses, the areas, the locations of those, and because of our limited open areas. When the city annexed this land to the south from Bath Road to Beard Road and down to Beardsley and so on, that added a lot of square miles, but it doesn't have city utilities, it's not really available for immediate development, it's not zoned commercial, and if we developed a DDA that went this way, it's not in the DDA. So it just...
Well, at that time, you could add that into it if you wanted to.
Well, and yes, I recognize that. However, I have to agree with what Bob's saying. And we have developable area in a DDA that's within spitting distance of here. Perry Township's DDA is up and running. So the argument of creating jobs for young people, they're right there. They will be there. That doesn't hold water for me, that argument. I just think that what Bob said, what Mindy has inferred, and Larry too, if we saw the business owners develop a business association and they created a list of what they'd like to see happen in the area, more parking, beautification, whatever it is, and came to the city as a business association and said, what can you do to help us achieve these goals? Then that's when we hire a grant writer. That's when we help them achieve those goals. So do we need a DDA to do that? And I think it was pretty clear from Mr. Sprague when he was here that no, you don't. You don't have to have a DDA to write for grant. Mr. Horvath inferred that it just goes easier, that it looks better, that grant providers are more willing to work with you if you have a DDA. But without putting a name to that, if you have an organization who's going to oversee the use, who's going to make sure that everything's done properly. And again, CBI might be, did I say it right that time?
No, CIB.
CIB. They might be who we'd want to use to do that. You know, but does it have to be with a DDA? So that's one part of the question. The other part of the question is, do we have the right information about the boundaries? And so, council, it's up to you to decide. We're pretty much back to where we started this discussion, and that was, do we want to schedule a meeting where we come in for a couple of hours and either learn from Mr. Sprague, Mr. Horvath, and attorneys who specialize in DDAs as to their recommendations as to what's best for the businesses in our city and for the residents in our city.
You know, one of the other concerns that I've got, and this may not be a very popular comment, but is, do we really have the, if we did that, the business support to make a DDA viable at this point in time? I know, Bob, you said that they came to a meeting as long as the meeting was during their business hours. To me, that's not commitment to, making a DDA happen. And they have absolutely got to be integrally involved in it. Otherwise, it's just a set of documents that we've got a DDA, but it won't be a live, vibrant, helping tool, I don't believe, without that kind of direct involvement and participation. And
I like
see
what
it
you
right
said
now.
about them, the businesses, they're in a community first or a committee. Get them together first. I agree with both these guys right here. It'd be nice to grow the town or the city and help them out, but even do we have the room to bring anybody in? I mean, you walk downtown and we're pretty full. But we'd still like to see it better, and I say start with, and like Larry says, start with a commitment. Get all those people, they should be sitting here, get a committee to come sit with all of us, and then we talk about it, and I think it could be a great thing. And then you go as far as, do you need a DDA to do it? But let's all work together and do it another way, to use grant money and like that to work together.
If I remember right, when the DDA was discussed and almost brought to fruition a few years back, there was a downtown business association of some kind.
It was a group of business owners that came to the meeting.
Yes.
And they were trying to get things going.
Yeah.
And I'll be perfectly honest with you, we asked for public hearings and never got them.
Yeah.
So that was where it ended. Because we kept asking for public hearings and nothing was ever done. But the business people would come, they objected to coming at 7 and 8 o'clock at night because they said, now in Vic Darling's case, he lives right here. But I think Kevin, who owns a resale shop, I don't think he lives in this area. So he said, I want to go home at the end of the day. So they would come in and we said, we'll start at 4 o'clock and we'll end at 5. And we had quite a few. John Spalding said he would come, but he had something going at the current time, so he didn't join it. Tom and Kelly Wilson came in, and they did it. They own a lot of buildings downtown. And the people from the truck stop came in. And the gentleman from the 7-Eleven said he would like to come in, but he can't. So, we've got, the support is there for doing something, but there's a lot of misinformation that's out there about the DDA.
Well, I think there is some misinformation, but I don't think our attorney is entirely wrong.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
And excuse my ignorance, do we still have a Chamber of Commerce within the city?
No. The Chamber of Commerce dissolved, I'm going to say 2002 or 3, in that ballpark, and became a member or a part of the Owasso Chamber, I forget what they call it, but several small city chambers joined together, and so no, there's no Chamber of Commerce for this area.
I would have to suggest the same thing, that the business that, I know 25 years ago, there was a downtown business association compiled of the downtown businesses, and they came to the city and said, these are some of the things that we would like to see. I think that they should do that again. They can meet at their own time during the day and bring that concern, have one representative bring those concerns to the city. And I think that would be helpful to council.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I asked this the first time this was talked about a couple of years ago with the DDA, and I'm gonna ask it again. What is the goal for the DDA? Because Sprague and Horvath reported that we are not, because it was reported to council that we were missing out on grants that you could only get with having a DDA. And Sprague and Horvath both said that is not true. And my thought, two things in it is, you've got to have an idea of why you would be creating it, and that would be your businesses. So I think, again, you're all saying the same thing, is you got to bring your businesses together to find out what it is. Talking about the money we're losing, well, that wouldn't stay with us, is talking about millages that are out there, and that a lot of them will give it up so that it's going towards your DDA to create more. But I question again, what are you going to do?
Well, that's part of CIP's job, is to develop a business plan
No,
for the
your
for the
group,
DDA.
your group is supposed to have goals,
Correct.
and your planner sells those. What are you going to do? I can give you one thing I would love to see the DDA do, but it's not in the jurisdiction. You're going to collect money with no vision, is
No,
my question.
There's a plan that CIP would put together with the input of the business people and the council and the planning commission and everybody else that's involved in it. But for me
So
to tell
you're
you
doing the cart
exactly,
before the horse.
no, for
Because
me,
we're going to spend $18,000 to hope that your businesses have a vision. And my point is you're putting together, your businesses should already reporting and say, we need a DDA. This is what we want. This is our goal. And I haven't heard it the first time, and I haven't heard it the second time. And so you don't have a goal, you just think at this point, you'll get the input and it will work, is basically what you're saying.
What, can I jump in here? Are you done?
I think so.
Okay. When an application, or it's not really an application, but when a DDA is created, there has to be goals as a part of that creation. It has to state, we want to do new flags in town, beautification, development of whatever those things are. They have to be part, the plan to create a DDA. So there may not be specific goals now, but if it were to go to the point of creation, there would have to be goals established and stated as to what those would be in order to create the DDA. But I agree with what Randy said. If the business owners would come together, all of them,
Good
and,
question.
and say, yes, or the majority of them anyway, and say, these are things we would like to accomplish. How best can we accomplish those? Then I think it's time to meet with CIB, I wrote it down so I'd say it right, and perhaps some attorneys who specialize in DDA, and say, these are the goals our business owners have to develop our businesses in our area, and they go from there to there. What can we as a city do to help them? What would be best? Is it a DDA? Is it an active business association with a grant writer, with city council, helping in whatever ways they say it's allowed and feasible to do? But I think we need to go back, not to square one, which is where we are now, but to square zero. We need to go back to those businesses, those business owners who were active before. And I understand, because I have this much paper in the mayor's office that previous mayors have left there that just talk about the DDA. That, I'm not kidding when I say that much. I have read through most of it. And I think the business owners got real excited about doing something last time, had some goals in mind, and for whatever reason, it got shut down. Nothing happened, and I think they got their feelings hurt, and I don't blame them. Randy, do you know anything about that time?
No, her anniversary is actually today.
Oh,
She
okay.
took over for 2 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, we were right at the
Yeah.
tail end of that.
Yeah. Steve, do you remember any of that stuff?
There was no talk of DDA back
Okay.
then, in the
In your
90s.
days? Okay.
No,
I
but I do know that the businessman brought a proposal to the city of
When-
suggested ideas.
When I was an owner of a business here, we had a Chamber of Commerce.
Mhm.
And it was a pretty active Chamber of Commerce, but things changed. But anyway, so council, there's some thoughts. What's your pleasure?
I have another question.
Yeah,
When you were on the DDA board
for the township?
did you have a planner
Oh, did we have a planner? Yeah.
that guided you with
Yeah.
things that the board could put together
Mhm.
to, okay.
What company is
And
it
how
that
much
Kevin
was-
Fuca's with?
Who?
Kevin Fuca?
I
Did
don't
you
know.
know? I think it was Rowe. I'm pretty sure it's Rowe. Row engineering.
So
Was
were
our
they
thing.
hired on a continuous basis?
Yeah.
Not just to set it up, but over the years? You
You
were
know,
paying them
he was a part of it right from the beginning, or they were a part of it at the beginning. And then as the board, the DDA board, got more comfortable with what they were doing and what their projects were and how much money they were bringing in and how much more they had to get to accomplish the goals, they kind of weren't coming to every meeting anymore. We could contact them if there was a question. But I would say maybe they were active participation for 3 or 4 years. And that was, then they were able to step aside. Kind of like teaching a baby how to walk. That kind of thing. And I don't know how much they charged, but that was in the 90s, so everything was
Right.
cheaper then.
Well, it didn't sound like that 18,000 to set it up was part, I didn't think that was part of the setting up. Am I mistaken?
We originally had like a $3,600 estimate for having a workshop where we would have experts here, council would come, business owners, education, questions, find stuff out. Then, if the decision was made to move ahead with development, then it was the higher, the $18,024.
In that $3,600.
Became part of that.
He
yeah.
would also decide or come up with a definitive amount of money that would be taken from the city and how much we could recoup from the other entities.
And he also talked about the fact that if a DDA was formed, that those numbers, those amounts of money could be repaid to the city by a loan against what the DDA would capture in the future. I mean, there's certainly all creative financing that's available to cover that stuff, but I think it boils down to, is it what's best for the city of Perry? When we have an active DDA in the township that's creating jobs and has open space to do that, is creating a DDA in the city of Perry going to actually help our businesses? What's it going to do for them? That goes back to what the businesses would like to see happen. Because if what they want isn't achievable with a DDA anyway, then there you go. And if we don't need the extra cost of a DDA to accomplish those, then there you go. But I agree with what Bob said, you know, I think probably the planning commission's thought was, well, if they're limited to those boundaries, why are we even going to talk to the business owners, because the DDA is just not going to work with that limited boundary, so they didn't reach out. Adam, who's not here tonight, has told us that he has personally talked to several, and I don't have a number or the who's, business owners about the creation of a DDA now, and he pretty much just got laughed off the front steps. Partly because of how they were treated last time, and partly because they just can't see going to all the work that they did before just to get shut down.
I also have thought, I'm not ready to have it become a motion at this point in time, maybe we'll turn it into one. I really think that I've sat here and listened to it, and I'm going to back up and say that before I got on council, I thought, why doesn't Perry have a DDA? And I've come full circle, quite honestly, personally, that says, why would we have a DDA? I think that we've got a whole host of different tools in a toolbox, and we're trying to grab out the hammer and say, let's make the hammer work to fix our business situation. What would happen, you know, we've got a committee, and I'm not trying to sign Mindy, you and I, and add them up for some additional work, but business affairs and technology, to me, business affairs, that piece of it may say we ought to consider having our committee, and I'm going to not put you on the spot, Randy, but talk to you outside of here about, as a business representative of sorts, whether or not you could be a supplement to that part of the committee, that we go out and canvass, not with even use the acronym DDA, but to see if we could put together a symposium or whatever for an hour or two, see how many business owners we had that would even come and participate, with the idea of, can it grow into an association, can it grow into a local chamber, can it grow into something that then, if that happened, we'd have an outgrowth of what are the things, not just a list of city council, go do these things for me. Is there enough appetite to do some things? And then if DDA becomes a viable tool to achieve those, so be it. And then we can figure out whether legally we could, make it the right size, etc. But I think we're trying to take a DDA to fix something that's got more fundamental work to be done ahead of time.
I agree.
I think part of that's a good idea, but part of that survey, if we want to call it that, ask the business owners what the city is doing for them, and or what isn't it doing for them, and what would they like to see happen from the city. We may be making a problem that doesn't exist. I don't know. I mean, I know Randy's, part owner of a business in downtown, but I don't know. It seems to me, if you have an issue with something, you can come in front of this council and say, hey, we have an issue, let's fix the sidewalks, let's do this, let's do that. John Souter has taken upon himself to notice that we had issues with the trees, talked to me, and we found someone to prune them. So there, we can't do it all on our own though, So I really think the businesses have to step up and request, or at least show an interest in being helped.
I look, this would be a step to reach out to them, to try to say that, I don't know the history of the past, but, here's where we are today. Reach out and see if there's enough of an appetite to come forward with some, not just a list of demands, but a collaborative list of opportunities.
I'm not talking about demands. Just to put that in perspective a little bit, I had an email from one of the downtown business owners expressing concern about the limited parking on Main Street, how her customers could not park in front of her business or even in that block because another business owner's employees and the owner were taking up 2 or 3 spots, and since there's not very many, that was pretty much the whole block. And I thought to myself, now gee whiz, if they had a business association, that could be a topic of discussion at their meeting, but they don't. So I emailed back and forth with that person for a while and finally came up with a letter that I sent out to the area, just expressing appreciation to the people who use city parking lots for their employees and themselves, and to recognize the limited parking on Main Street, and we needed to keep those available for customers/clients. And could everybody who perhaps is using the Main Street sites please park in the city lots and get off Main Street? That, why do you, and I'm not saying this to promote myself, I'm not, but why would a business have to go to the mayor to take care of that?
That's a good question.
There needs to be a business association of some kind. And so I agree with Larry. I applaud his idea of doing that, perhaps initially putting a letter together by the Business Affairs and Technology Committee and mailing it out to all the businesses so that they can be giving it some thought, and then start making appointments to talk to people or see how many would come to a meeting, although I think you'd probably get better feedback by just going to them. So do we have a council member who'd like to make a motion to assign this concern to the Business Affairs and Technology Committee.
I'll make that motion. You do? Yes, most definitely. And I'll put myself out there to help Larry and whoever else is on the committee.
So Randy's made a motion to assign exploring creation of a downtown, or I shouldn't even say downtown, a business association.
Talk to the people.
Talk to them about the,
Start there. Let's go, let's start over again, send a letter out, I think that's great, get it in their head, and then let's go see the people. Make a meeting with them real quick, say 5-10 minutes, then you got their attention. They're not just rushing you out the door kind of thing. And go see them, talk to them, maybe they want to be heard.
do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Are we talking all the businesses
Yeah,
Yes.
in town?
all the businesses within the boundaries of the city of Perry. Right?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, this is not a DDA.
No.
The DDA, this is, let's talk to all the businesses, see if they want to have an association, see what their needs are, if any, and then go from that point.
And then if that interest comes forward, going back to the position of a education meeting, what can we do, what can we have, where can the boundaries be if it is felt to be a DDA? But I think at this point,
If the DDA is the right tool.
you're right, if it is the tool. So, Bob, I'm going to say thank you very much
Okay.
for your work. Thank the Planning Commission for their work and their interest. And as far as the, I'm going to set your motion aside for just a minute. And I would like to suggest that we table indefinitely the 3 topics that refer to the DDA, to discuss create DDA, possible workshop for DDA, possible approval for CIB to show DDA estimate of tax capture of a DDA. And if somebody,
I move that we table, create a DDA, workshop for a DDA, and CIB DDA estimate for tax capture at this time, or indefinitely.
Second.
it's been a motion by Bob, seconded by Larry, to indefinitely table those 3 items. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Then we'll go back to Randy's motion to assign to the Business Affairs and Technology Committee this topic.
I put to seek interest to create businesses, a possible business association. Are
That's
you
good.
okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'm good with that. And we had a second to that motion by,
Lambert, I had.
okay, Larry, yeah. So all those in favor of that motion to assign it to the Business Affairs and Technology Committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, motion passes. Again, Bob, thank you very much. I know it's been, but who knows, it might circle back around. We'll see.
Just for clarity, that Business Affairs and Technology, Randy, to help you, is myself, Mindy, and Adam Grants.
Okay.
So if you'd be willing to coach and
Yeah,
counsel with us a bit, I'd appreciate it.
Careful.
Yeah, we have to limit the number of people on that standing committee. So I'll maybe check in with Adam, and perhaps he'd be willing to step aside to allow our business owner member to serve on that,
Okay.
for that particular item. So I'll talk to him. Next on our agenda, discussion regarding zoning violation recommendations from the Finance and Ordinance Committee. Larry or Mindy?
Ready to go? Okay. We are making some progress as a committee, nothing ready to report yet. We're probably on our third draft, and we'll be scheduling another meeting of the committee with an outline, met with Leland Scott, and we'll include Leland as the zoning administrator, and further discussion, but the bottom line is we are outlining with input from a number of people, including what Shiawassee County does and other municipalities, what they have in terms of a penalty structure for any violations. So hopefully we're making some progress forward, and more to follow, but we're not ready to bring it for any kind of review quite yet. Anything to add, Mindy?
I think we've done pretty well so far, and it won't be long.
Right.
Would you like us to put you on the next meeting's agenda again, or 2 meetings?
No, let's go ahead and put it on for the next
Okay,
meeting.
all right. Moving down then to, did anybody have questions for them? Anyone? Okay. Moving on to new business, discussion of opinion from the city attorney regarding the McQueen House lead levels. I don't have one yet. He was on vacation for a week. I sent my email, but I have not gotten a response. So we'll have to move that to the next meeting, but we're not going to do that till after the work is done, was my understanding from the last meeting. So we've got time to find out his recommendations. But we did have a meeting, and one topic came up during that meeting about having the ductwork cleaned after the work is done. So we're going to get estimates on that from 3 companies and get the ductwork cleaned, then the testing done, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I do have a clarification. I think I misspoke when I gave the Reader's Digest version because I didn't have those in front of me.
Yeah,
It's children under 6 cannot be exposed for more than 6 hours per week. So that same child, if they have programs, that same child can't, say a 2-hour program, they can't come 3 in a row
Yeah.
or 3 in 1 week.
right,
They would be over that limit
limit.
exposure, so.
Okay. And during our meeting, Miss Billy Roback, he plans to have a very visible sign that talks about that and relay that information to any teachers that are bringing classes in, that those limitations apply and so on and so forth.
Is that ever a limit that's gonna get hit? I mean, are they still just doing the walkthrough things in there for kids, or?
Well, they're not doing anything right now because of COVID.
Right.
And I don't know. Mindy, do
I
you know
didn't,
that?
I couldn't quite hear what you said.
Is this even a problem? Is the same kid gonna go to that place 3 times in a week for 6 hours? I mean, is it?
Yeah, do they have ongoing classes where they're there?
Is there like a daycare or something in there?
Well, daycare has different
Billy said that he was, after COVID, he'd like to do some things like with the library, maybe have story time over there and like that. But I think that if we make sure it's properly cleaned, and he's assured us he'll do that, and with the testing, it seems to me that it should be just fine. 'Cause
But
there
to
shouldn't
answer
be-
the specific question about hours, I don't think so. I think at most they're in there
I do
for,
like that it's gonna
an
get
hour.
cleaned and there's gonna be a sign there. I think that
Yeah.
would, like you said, we talked about last time, ask the lawyers what we gotta have there and
right,
go
yeah.
from there.
Yep, so we'll move that item to our next agenda as well. Hopefully I'll have the attorney's response by then. Is there any more discussion regarding that topic? Oh, I know what else I wanted to mention. Should we do that same thing at the library when they're done with their work?
clean the ducts.
Yeah, I mean, have the lead.
That's not a bad idea. Well,
Well,
I don't
have
think
the
that building
test-
is as old, but it's not, it's always be better safe than sorry,
Yeah,
just to make sure.
So it might be
It's relatively inexpensive.
yeah.
But yes, I would say we should consider that when we're all done
Okay.
with that.
All right. So
'Cause I don't think we have any estimates 100% yet on the front
Right,
facade or
yeah,
anything yet,
right.
so.
because they're going to be doing work in there,
Right.
and, yeah, as you know. So those are things to think about. So we'll move on in our new business agenda to discussion to consider grant consulting firm. Who wants to lead this discussion? Bob, is that your thing?
That's something I looked into, just, it was an idea I came up with, or actually, I think it was Adam and I were talking, instead of paying for a DDA consulting firm, because no one can tell us, and we just spent an hour talking about that, so I'll try to be brief. If we had any benefit of having a DDA, if it made our chances of getting a grant any better. So I started looking into a grant writer. Is it a cheaper route? Do we get more bang for our buck? There's lots of ways to do, they're basically, I look at them as an editor. So the city starts grants, and I know we just got two. So it'd be just another tool to have someone look at it, to make sure all the I's are crossed, the I's dotted, T's crossed, and hit all the little bullet points. That's all. I think it would be cheaper for the city than the DDA, but now we've kind of resolved what the DDA stuff is, so I don't know if we want to table this or wait until we have the Business Affairs Committee can talk about it, kind of peruse the businesses and see if there's an interest in what kind of that plan, and then come back to this.
Well, I do know from the firefighter side, talked to some of them, we write a lot of grants, ask for a lot of grants. When you talk about the hourly thing, we can probably, if we get one guy saying there's two places in town that want to use your business, we could look into I don't think we could do the lump sum thing because people would be taken aback. So hourly, if we could get a great hourly rate, I think it'd be amazing. The grants are there right now. People are giving money out like
That's
crazy.
kind of what I talked to this one person.
Yep, I remember you saying that.
One person called me back. Then that's been the interesting thing in this economy. It's great and it's bad at the same time. But he said he would, it's an hourly rate. It's not that expensive. But please, the Parks and Property, Fire Department, the city itself, downtown, whatever, something we should consider perhaps.
Question.
Yes.
Do you, so this consultant that you spoke with, if we had a project and knew, would they help us go look for more than just one grant? Or will we be looking for the grant to help us? Because that's sometimes, a big thing about it is sometimes you just don't know where to look to find it.
He did mention something, I gave everyone, I think, information on that one person. And I'm not saying, I've never met the man, I just talked to him on the phone and found him on the internet. He was in Grand Ledge, I think. But no, he did say he could do those things. He would take it from, you can hire him, he'll do it all. He'll write it, propose it, manage it, all that stuff. He would be willing to just edit the grant writing. If we started, he'll edit it, make sure it's all right. He'll manage it so he can edit, manage whatever we want. I'm sure for a fee, almost anybody would do things for a fee. So he may have information or ability to find grants that we can't find. Perhaps. Again, I don't know.
Sure.
But that's a good question.
It would be a good tool for
And
us.
he was willing to come to a meeting and or at least a Zoom with us if we want to get to that point.
Yes. Because a lot of, unfortunately, grants out there and different things, because we're a municipality, we're exempt for going after it. We are not the typical nonprofit.
Right.
So that's where I've run into a lot of dead ends on looking at different grants, and it's so frustrating. So that's why I thought maybe he might have the magic of finding.
That's
But if there was
possible.
a business
Good question.
association who could hire, it's,
They could join.
yeah. But it's Schmidt Grant Consulting Services, that's the one.
Yep, that's the
we're talking.
one.
And that information says that we also offer program design and development as a standalone service to help you build your program in your grant readiness. Our comprehensive design and development process includes researching the need for the program, analyzing your organization's readiness to begin or expand a program, locating potential funding opportunities, and so on. What do you think, council? And I hate to pile on you guys, but would this be something we'd want to hand off also to the business and technology, is that who you are? Business and Technology Committee, along with looking at, or talking to the business owners, using this as kind of another tool, in that might help them with their discussions too. I don't know. Do you want to hand that off to them?
I have no problem, I just had, like I said, Adam and I were talking one day, and we kind of talked about it, so I just started research. That's as far as I got.
Okay,
So, and if they're willing to take it on, that committee, more power to them, that'd be terrific. But I'm not gonna tell them that they have to do that, it seems like they got a lot to do.
they do. They do have a lot to do.
You know, my only concern, it's gonna be down the road a ways
Right.
before we'd be ready to do anything as it regards
As far as
the business, I think. I
Okay,
think we need to establish whether or not it's a tool that nearer term would have been beneficial for the 2 grants that we just, received. Obviously, John and Kyle and things were able to get along with Devin and whoever else worked on it, got it compiled. We got
actually
it
Leanne and Devin.
Okay, that's
yeah.
right, Leanne and I spoke on it last time.
Yeah,
But would it have helped her to have had that tool available? That's kind of independent of what we might do with the businesses, so.
And there's so many different levels of grants. Now, that one, the USDA literally helped Leanne where she couldn't answer it. They wanted us to have those grants, so we lucked out on that one.
Yeah.
But then you go to MDOT, typically with those, you need an engineer. So John had an engineer, he used Wolverine, and because Wolverine is the one that told him, hey, you need to go after this grant, it's right there sitting, waiting for you to go. So I don't know if I can answer whether this consultant in the few that we've recently gotten, if he would be as much helpful when, it's roads, so you'd want an engineer. And then with this one, we had some help, but there are ones
grants.
out there that you need somebody to be able to write a story for you and make it good. So I guess that didn't answer your question, but.
No, it in part did, and I think we might want to consider, should we ask that person, or at least start with that person, since Bob's already had some contact, to come to a council meeting and share what their tools might be. I'm not opposed to having our committee take it on. Mindy, correct me if you disagree. I'm just concerned that I don't want to get it too linked to, it happens because of whatever the businesses decide to do, because I think they could have used that service if we get to that point, but in the meantime, are we able to potentially use the service for any other grants for the city?
I think the service, if we deem it feasible or as a useful tool for the city, should not be limited to just the business area. Like, I know Parks and Property, we have some big ideas, and we're gonna need some money. A lot of money, I think, for some of these things that I wanna do. So, that might help that particular, again, it's, what I chair, so I have that right on top of my head. But there's other things, I know Devin put in for a grant last year for the doggy stations, and we got denied. Could we have had a better chance? I don't know, flip a coin, and you can answer that question just as well.
Sure.
So, I don't know, but he seems to be reasonable. And I don't want to be stuck on one person, but maybe we call him in and talk to it. And if anybody else has time to research or look for anybody else, that'd be terrific. But he said he would be willing to come, at the very least, a Zoom participant in one of our council meetings to answer questions.
would you mind if I did that?
No, go ahead.
All right. I will contact this company,
Okay.
and I'll also look in, because I know there are some planners, like that company whose name I always mess up, so I won't even try.
CIB.
Is that it? Anyway, that as a company, they will, help you develop your desires and decide what the best approach is. So I'll make some calls, some emails at the very least, and see who we can get to come in and talk to us about what services they offer.
Yeah, I love Devin's
In that
question
line.
there of, if there's somebody out there looking for us,
Yeah.
they're
Oh,
worth their weight in
absolutely.
gold. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're doing the work for us,
Right,
and that's only gonna make them money. If they're finding us grants,
right.
we're gonna hire them hourly, and boom.
As I told John when he was contemplating about what to do, because he was trying to do the MDOT grant on his own,
Mm.
and I said, sometimes you gotta spend money to make money when it comes to stuff like that, to get it done right.
Spend it wisely.
And I think he's grateful that he went that route, because now he's working on it again. He's going after MDOT grant again, so kudos to John.
Yes, kudos to John. Okay, so is there any other discussion on that? I'll do some research and invite some people. Let's move on then to our next new business item, which goes back to Bob. Fund the parks.
And I was a little premature, we have a meeting in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, so I will be able to, I hopefully, I'll come before council, next council meeting and have an actual request for expenditures. Like I said before, there's some plans that we would like to do in Jubilee, and I got 2 or 3 estimates for one part of it, and it was quite higher than I thought it would ever be. 2 to 3 times more than what I calculated in my head. So we have some ideas. Actually, John Sauter came up with an idea, so I'm going to present it with 2 by committee. Next meeting we have, which is the 27th, I think. So anybody who's on that committee, please attend, and anybody who wants to come, more than welcome to join us, because I really want to have as much input from the community as possible, and knowing that we're doing the right thing, and, you know, bringing people into the parks and what they see as needed. I read I think it was 2013, we did a study, parks that are, mailed it out to everybody, and most of it, on the minutes, kind of hit all those things, you know, walking paths, new equipment, that kind of stuff, so. And that was out before I read that, we had these ideas come up, so. I'd like to table, no action taken on my,
Okay, so we'll have no action taken tonight on the discussion possible approval to fund parks and property projects in anticipation of it coming back to our next meeting?
Yes.
And put that on as an agenda item.
oh, I do have a question.
Mhm.
Okay, so one of the projects we wanted to do, I brought it up last week, is the movies in the park.
Yeah,
I have found things to purchase, like on Amazon. So is that something we can do? Like, say, if I purchase it with my credit card, do I get reimbursed, or does the city have to purchase it directly?
no, we just let you write that off on your taxes as a
Thank you, I appreciate
donation.
that. All right, I guess we're not gonna have movies in the park. I can finance it for a short period of time.
I would say not to purchase anything
No,
until but I think we can make that work, can't we? If he buys it, we pay him back or something if it gets approved
I
that way.
just didn't know, I wanted to ask before, then that changes some things of how we can do it, that's all.
The general rule is that the Parks and Property bring in to council their thought, what their own expense is. Your council is paying for it, and yes, we could reimburse you. We don't, that
Okay.
process isn't a problem.
Okay.
But just don't do it first
No,
without
I
making
would
sure
never do it first,
council
'cause
approves something like that. And one thing that was brought in the office is if you're talking about doing the blow up, right? Where are you gonna store it?
at your house.
I'm looking for a new house too. Are you gonna buy me a new house? And I will. I only state that because I know there's limited with DPW, and Dory's concern is that it's gotta be stored properly so that it will last the
Absolutely.
amount of years. So that's why I bring that up.
I've thought about it, I thought we could find a spot in the DPW garage, it's not very big, it's maybe, the duffel bags is about as big as this table.
Okay. I just wanted to bring that
The
up.
electronic equipment, I'm sure we can find a closet here in City Hall to store that, and then the actual blow-up thing, we'll find a home for it.
Okay,
And I'll look into that before we actually purchase to make sure that it's good.
okay. Because, yeah, John might want another shed or something for our debate. We got threatened for Christmas that he's like, you guys need to build another building just for you guys. So.
Yeah,
just
you'll
saying.
want to know if it can be stored where it's cold too, or if it has to stay.
It just has to stay
warm.
dry,
Dry, okay,
and, then take the old precautions for rodents and stuff, so
okay,
that's what you have to do.
thank you.
Do we have the power in the park to go up?
Yep, we have the pavilion and the bathrooms right there.
Any other questions for Bob regarding that? Okay. Next item of new business is mayor's appointments. And I have reappointed Jennifer Porter. She kindly agreed to continuing to serve to the Perry Building Authority. She lives at 330 North Madison Street with her husband, Bob, and has agreed to continue to serve on the Building Authority, Perry Building Authority Committee for a term to expire May of 2024. We do need council's approval for that appointment if somebody's interested in making that motion.
I move that we accept the mayor's reappointment of Jennifer Porter to the Perry Building Authority with a term expiring in May 2024.
Second.
As moved by Steve and seconded by Larry, all those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. We do still need someone to serve on the Planning Commission. We have a vacancy there. I've talked to approximately 220 people. No, not quite that much. But I've talked to a lot of people and I haven't found anybody to fill that vacancy yet. But if someone's interested, please contact me by email or phone call at City Hall or on my cell. We have no other new business, but is there any other business that may come before council? Do we have anyone from the public who would like to make a comment?
Anybody on Zoom, please raise your hands if there's an interest in making public comment, or unmute so I can identify you want to speak. I don't have anything there.
Okay, so we don't have anyone there. Do we have any council discussions or observations, council members, that you'd like to bring forth? I'll just remind us all that we are in budget season, so we will be needing to set aside a time when we as a council all meet together to review a proposed budget. I'm meeting with department heads tomorrow for a couple hours midday to go over their proposals for their departments. And once we have something that comes from that meeting, then we'll all need to get together. Would you like to do that as a council on Saturday morning sometime, or a nighttime? What's your
Nighttime.
pleasure? Nighttime? Randy, nighttime, Bob?
That's fine. I just need to know a couple weeks in advance.
Okay. Steve?
Nighttime.
Night.
Whatever.
Okay. All right, then I'll be in touch. And no other council discussions. We will adjourn our meeting, 8:18 p.m.